All set?
All set.
Okay. Welcome to our policy committee meeting, our first of this school year. Everyone from policy committee is here, and we have Frank here. I think eventually Paige is interested once she's past volleyball season, so she's not with us today. Okay, so our agenda is basically bringing some things forward that we had hoped to get to last year. And I think we'll just start out with policy 0115 and the related reg and exhibit. And that is student harassment and bullying. So if I tried to go back through and get all refreshed and everything, I think we had a draft started.
I thought we made pretty good progress.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. But when I see the highlights in yellow, what does that mean?
I did that. I
I
did
think
that.
some of those are the new language that NISBA recommended.
New language,
Yeah.
okay.
And some of it was
What
new things that I added the other day that I wanted. I went
Make
through the
sure,
policy on Tuesday, because that's when
Yeah.
I started putting up things back into it. And I went through our policy, our current policy and this one,
Mhm.
and I started to highlight things that were
Gotcha.
specifically different. So that way we could have the conversation. It's not worth it to always know what, it's better to focus on
Right.
what's different. So
Yeah.
that's what those yellow
And in
things
my
are.
quick look, it did look like our old policy was what was once the NISBA recommended policy.
It was,
That got
yeah,
outdated,
yeah.
so so a lot of the yellow is really NISBA's recommended
Good,
updates.
yeah.
So I'm pulling up the one that's draft NISBA with reg or the draft NISBA revised April 2023. See how they're labeled a little different, but
I
it's two
think it's-
drafts.
I think it's draft revised April 2023.
Okay, so not the one that has the reg on it.
No, I didn't,
Okay.
that's not the one that I did. And I'm looking at this one, it has guardians verbal there, so I know we updated this one.
Yeah, this is the one I think we were working on back in May.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, it looked like, and I don't know if these have already been addressed, so I'm kind of jumping back in here.
Yes.
You had a lot of, I'll call kind of fundamental questions, Pat, Patricia,
Mhm.
Trish, regarding, purpose, who does this,
Mhm.
by whom, to what end, Have all those questions been answered?
I think I asked those back in May and I think a lot has changed.
Okay,
Because I
We can
think
go
Frank and team have really, brought in a lot of programs.
the,
We can go through them.
no, I don't
I don't
need
think we
to.
necessarily have to either, because none of those were like, is this policy right or wrong? It was just kind of making sure
Process question.
if we have a policy, do we have a process? Yeah, or are we making a process?
And I had asked the question at one time, should we address our expectations in this policy that DASA violations be reported to NICET?
They are.
DASA violations?
Yeah, so when you have like a dignity for all act violation,
Right.
like where it is, we do it through the school climate survey.
We
used
don't
to be
mention
Vader.
it in here, I don't.
No, I don't think, because we have the SSEC, which policy we have to update. Right now, it's actually the Vader policy that we have.
Mhm.
So NISBA did send up an update to us. I
Okay.
found that over the summer. But it's a school climate survey, so we update those. And that was something I wanted to actually bring up in curriculum is I would like to actually probably start sharing some of those out with the board. Because we do those reports at the end of the year of were there any found dignity for, violations. We have to report those to the state at the end of the year each year, as part of the report. But that's in a different policy that NISBA has.
It's either the 100 or 110, because I just read
So
it.
it's already.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
But when it said school climate survey, I did get confused.
they changed them. Yeah, it used to be Vader, which is the violent and disruptive incident report. And now it's SSEC. It's a school.
But that has
climate.
nothing to do with the
Completely
climate
different.
survey that
Com-
we do.
Completely
The
different.
national one,
Yeah,
okay.
completely different. Yeah. Yeah, this one goes through the portal in New York State and it's through the IDEX. We have to fill it out each year. It's based off of BEDS codes. Yeah, that's a completely different system.
We do, don't we have a standalone Dignity for All Students Act
Yes,
policy?
that's the new one that has to be done. I found that last year.
I thought we did it, right?
I think we have to update it
Oh,
again.
we have
They
to do
changed
it again? Okay.
I went to a training and Jay Verona was there and they brought that policy up and like, oh, we don't have that policy. Like,
Oh,
it's a different name. So I do have it somewhere that it's one that we need to look at.
Okay, so we'll put that on our list.
Yeah.
Okay, any other just overall questions before we start diving right into this page by page? Okay,
We're on the 0115 NISBA sample, right?
the one, yeah, revised April
No, I don't need to find
2023.
that one.
I have it up here too.
Oh,
Not the one that has with reg as
Yeah,
well.
that's the one.
It
that's
should
the
have
one. I got it now.
comments in
Okay, all
yellow.
right, good. I would,
Page one on number 2, there's yellow. Do you see
yeah, I
that?
got it now.
Yeah, okay.
So I went through this one and just, cleaned up some like extra spaces and, you know, misspellings and stuff like that. So other than getting answers to your questions, Trisha, I didn't have a lot of comments.
Okay, how about right on, the yellow section on page 3? Like the third paragraph. Says in addition, if you scroll,
Do you mind if I take
Oh,
out the
no,
other
no, go
ones?
ahead.
So cyberbullying, discrimination, all
those are
those,
just new depths.
those are just new things that weren't in the old policy, so I just wanted to mark those.
Okay.
So in addition to
Yeah, right
superintendent,
there. I
yeah,
think we're missing, like, is it a, are you trying to say this is?
After word making,
Committee?
yeah, so the NISBA recommendation states you don't have to, but it should. You should have a group that reviews your prevention programs and evaluates how they work. So I kind of took some time to really think about a good
isn't that
recommendation.
what a school board does?
Well, no, because it's a student, it's a parent-student based and staff-based thing that they're asking
I
for.
worry about this. I made mention it. It didn't show up in my comments. I don't know why I didn't post it properly, but I said, I worry about a committee being in this oversight capacity, this kind of vigilante committee.
Mhm.
And that bothers me. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I don't think that that's really a good place. These are sensitive issues that need to be handled carefully. And just putting them out to some ad hoc committee that, I don't like that idea.
So I agree with you.
And I know what NISBA says.
Yeah.
I would differ from them on that.
And I appreciate it because I kind of agree with you as well.
I do too.
So I am totally fine without doing that, but I do like the idea of having a public conversation about what are the preventions that we're having, right? Did we get reports,
Fine.
right? Did we get reports? Did we not get reports? Did we use restorative practices to address it? Did we, like, that kind of oversight is kind of where I want to go with this, because I think having that conversation with, like, let's say the district advisory committee, saying we got 9 complaints and we didn't find them somewhere pure. How could we?
If
better
there was
handle
a
that?
district advisor
There is a district advisory committee. We have a shared,
for, I mean, but specifically assigned for bullying and issues.
well, no, so I don't think we should have one specifically for, that's kind of where I was going with this.
Yeah.
We have a district level shared decision making.
Yeah, okay.
Like reviewing our prevention protocols with that seems very appropriate. The building level team that is done, which is again, a shared decision making committee within the building, going over if there's multiple like bullying incidents, the principal saying, we've had 20 complaints of bullying. What are we doing? How are we doing this better? With that team seems absolutely appropriate because they're going to kind of manage where they're going as a leadership group. Going into specifics with students and bringing that in, I would have reservations.
Has all the markings of a disaster.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can take that out if you'd like. It's not required.
I just think it just needs to be understood that, you know, some of this stuff is sensitive and needs to be handled in a proper, legal, confidential way. And you can't just open this up for public discussion. And I worry as soon as we have a ad hoc committee that's working on this, you're asking for trouble.
How about something like this? So if you're all in agreement, so Roger, you said you were kind of in agreement as well. How about something like the superintendent with procedures to evaluate, you know, the prevention outcomes and,
It seemed like NISBA was suggesting
yeah, I did
a
not,
group for implementation, not necessarily for ongoing.
they were looking for early identification, bullying, development, prevention interventions, like,
And I might have read into that, but it scared me.
no, I thought it was a little bit more there.
Why wouldn't the district coordinator do this?
Me.
Well, you are the.
I'm the district
Oh,
coordinator.
okay.
As
Now I get
appointed.
it. All right.
Yep. Yeah, I am the district coordinator, as appointed at the reorg meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, I think you can change this to say something like, in addition, the superintendent will establish procedures to assist the administration in developing and implementing specific prevention initiatives. So just take out everything between, and to, right? Superintendent will establish procedures to assist the administration.
Oh, I see where you are.
you
Yeah.
know,
I got
specific prevention. You don't even need to
That's on you.
establish procedures, you can say to assist. The superintendent, will assist
You could do that.
the
too.
administration in developing and implementing specific prevention initiatives or procedures, if you want to keep, go back to that, including early identification, yeah.
The accompanying regulation provides more
Kind of
details.
puts you in
What
charge.
is that?
There's a 115R,
So that's the one that I didn't know.
right?
That confused me.
And I requested a copy of it today, but we do have an old R
Okay,
in Voorheesville, but we probably want Nisbet's new R.
that's something just happened.
Do you have it,
So,
Archie?
I was looking at an R.
I saw
I
us.
opened one.
Oh, the R is in the other draft.
Somebody just.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have the other R. We didn't have the other E. We have
It's,
115R. We don't have 115E from NISBA.
Did somebody just add like a huge component to this?
Yeah.
I have read the rational resolutions that are recommended
Oh,
for
this is
adoption.
Tim's stuff that he wrote to
Somehow that just got in
about the
there.
Oh.
NISBA delegates.
I just hit a button and it, I'm sorry, I didn't know
Can you
that.
hit undo?
Can we undo this?
I don't know how to do it.
All right, I'm gonna do it undo, and let's see if that check makes it
Try
happen.
it again.
We try and undo here.
Undo here.
Yes.
All
I was
right.
looking, all of a sudden I go, whoa, what just
What
happened?
the?
Yeah, there is a 115R from NISBA in the other draft.
Okay.
Archie.
Yeah, I looked at one. I've got it open.
Yep.
Um,
I took a look too.
it's draft NISBA sample policy
Mhm.
0115R
With,
W reg.
with reg, yeah.
Yeah, I looked at that one. That one had some, I just did some minor cleanup in that
That's,
as well.
that's in there.
Yeah, and a lot of that, it's just, little language changes. You probably just have to cut and paste if you want to use this one for the policy and the R from the other one. We could probably cut and paste that section.
I just gotta find it. Sorry.
It's the other one. It says NISBA sample policy. It looks exactly the same as the one, it says draft. One of the drafts, it might be this one that says with reg, if you look at this.
Oh, that one right there?
It's a PDF. Never mind. What's this one? Is this the one we're actively working on right here, Frank?
Yeah, maybe, is that one, no, that's not the one we're actively
Okay,
looking at.
see this.
Oh, with reg, I
If
see
you
it.
scroll down to like, yeah, right there, you might be able to just cut
Gotta
and
find
paste
it.
all of their R over to the one we're actively editing.
Why don't I do that?
Yeah. Cause they did a lot of work there for us.
It's just one page?
No, it was, I printed it out. It's like 9 pages.
Can't go.
It should keep going. Can you lift up and then get to the bottom,
Yeah,
hit shift and, oh, sorry.
that's okay. I'm not good at these. Oh, there's a lot there. I see it. I can cut and paste that.
Yeah.
If I can actually use my computer. Were there's, Archie, when you were reading this, were there specifics of
In
what we do or what we don't do, or is it just kind of generic overviews?
the reg,
Yeah,
it's a lot of repeating of what's in the policy. I didn't find a lot in here that I would say is clearly a reg. Right? I mean, there's the stuff on incident reporting, which is a little more spelled out. like staff who learn of the incident are required to report it. If unsure, but this is also in the policy, so I felt like we had most of this covered in the policy. There's this initial building level procedure on, I think it's page 7.
I put it on there now, Tim. So if you go all the way down to the one that we were on before,
You know,
the regulation is now there. Discrimination.
Like the part that starts,
I got it. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
starts at page 7. Initial building level procedure, like that's not in the, policy. Includes more like potential remedies.
so what you're saying is this regulation is more policy language,
It's got a lot of, it repeats a lot of the
not
policy language.
regulative process.
It's not only process.
Okay. Yeah, because again, this has the superintendent will appoint a district bullying prevention committee chair. It does it again in there.
Yeah, so what's,
I'm gonna remove that.
That
yeah,
is
what's different in here in the policy, it starts for the most part on page 7. And there's a building level procedure, then a district level procedure and a board procedure.
This is 42 pages long, this regulation.
No, well, the one I'm looking at, there's
Oh,
only
it's
11.
not- it has
It's
two.
11.
Yeah, but now we have the first policy, and then we have the second, so we have the policy, and then we have regulations. So yeah, it's probably 42 pages altogether.
Why didn't you guys call me when I was executive director there? Tell me what the hell?
Tim, clean this up.
You could probably still help us out, Tim.
I don't think so. Not on this. They're too far gone now.
Yeah, so there's a lot in here. I'd say on these policies as a group, my biggest comment is that a lot of these things are split out, but I don't know, I don't have an understanding why NISBA split out, like sexual harassment from harassment. Sexual harassment is a form of harassment, right? Like, could you just add a definition, an additional definition
You saw
into
this, look at policy.
the yeah, it doesn't make
Makes
a
sense.
lot of sense to me. It's
Well,
like,
they further split sexual harassment between students and employees.
Yeah,
right, which.
I think because some of the legal language was a little different, is what they said.
Maybe, and,
You would know
and
better.
potentially the reporting procedures are different,
Right.
right? Because if it's a student, it's DASA,
And
If it's an
the
employee-
ramifications.
right? If it's an employee, what's the process? And I thought our procedure, our policy, or procedure is really light on process around employee complaints. And we might want to look at that. So, yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think these are ready for the board.
no,
Not at all. Once I started
Not
digging and I'm like,
Yeah, but I'm gonna
whoa.
argue for maintaining some level of simple. It's because this is really, really over the top. They're down to, you know,
Yeah.
way down into the weeds here. And as far as policy or procedure is concerned, I mean, if that's what he needs, fine. But for us, our purposes,
Yeah,
this is
I hear
going
you.
too deep.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I think it does get tricky when we go too far off in this, but not that we shouldn't. But whoever chairs in the future, they feel like this doesn't.
Well, I always want to
But
give,
that's their
I always
preference.
want to give some, particularly in this issue, some level of discretion. I mean, I don't want,
What do you mean by discretion?
well, I don't want it to be done unfairly. I want everybody to treat it the same way and, you know, some level of equity along the way, but case by case. There's a situation here
Yeah. I
and we
mean,
gotta deal with this situation. There are circumstances to take into account in dealing with this situation that may differ from the one we did last week.
I think that language is in here.
Yeah.
It just in terms of, you know, I don't remember the exact words, but something like the consequences or the, you know, next steps will be based on an evaluation of these factors. So I think that's in here.
I think the majority of deadlines are legal. There might be legal deadlines in here.
As far as
15 days,
staffing and
30
reporting.
days, 20 days, or like when responses of complaints can come in.
I don't know. For the DASA stuff, maybe.
I don't know.
But
There's,
in
I'm
No, it's
looking,
by
general-
illegal.
Yeah,
probably-
so that's what I'm
Just
saying. So
general,
I would
like,
imagine.
Complaint procedures? No, I don't.
well, they're looking at the board will notify all parties concerned of the time and place when a hearing will be held. Hearing will be held within 15 school days. Like, I just think those things.
Those are just regular, like discipline related procedures.
Yeah, that's what I think. What they put a lot of
Are they
those in.
reasonable? The numbers, the dates? I mean,
I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't dug into the regulation.
yeah, nor have
so
I. And so
yeah.
I'm asking you, I don't know if they're following the law or they're trying
Yeah,
to be
I don't know.
reasonable.
I would have to,
You know,
I would feel more comfortable having our school attorney look over the dates and give their opinion on it as well.
well, know that they work, this is a department within the legal
Right.
division. So they're going through legal, all this stuff.
Do we want to focus on the policy itself and then come back to the regulation later?
I think we should, because
The regulation is ridiculous.
otherwise we're gonna end up
Certainly.
like making changes and.
Well, I would almost say to you, I would almost say, Frank, you look over the regs and tell you, is there anything you want to change in there? Because
I'll look at it.
for us to be spending all of our
Right.
time on regs is unnecessary.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's, like I said, there's a lot in the reg that I think can come out.
Cause it's already in the policy.
Yeah.
I don't know the need to duplicate. I'm not sure.
Sorry.
I-
What you're seeing up here is I have a to-do list that I keep for myself, so this is just going out to it.
Let me just look at a few more of my questions on 115 then, if people want to just focus on that.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling through. If you don't mind looking. Oh, we have, on page. 442. It's under incident reporting and investigation.
You're on the policy.
On the policy, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It says all times complaints will be documented, tracked, and handled in accordance with that paragraph. Just wanted to make sure we are good there with the yellow section that got added. And right now we do have policy 100 and 110. Those are also on our list to try to do at some point sooner rather than later. Did you find that section? Yeah,
You're
there.
there.
Is that
You're
yellow
there.
section good? I'm assuming you added
The
it.
building principal, they're designated
Mhm.
by quarterly reports for this. Yeah,
Okay.
that was something I want.
Mhm.
Because I'm not getting those. So I'd like to get those. Just so I have a better understanding. So that way I can kind of keep pulse better, knowing if our programs are working or not. And the DASA complaint form that I added was one that our attorney looked over last year. They did a lot of work with our building principals
Yeah,
to make sure that we're following through. And those were all actually taken from like New York State and everything else that we wanted. So they fit. And also then we checked other schools to see if they were, what theirs were. And other schools that even don't use the same law firm as ours were utilizing the same forms. So those are like kind of commonplace forms that I put on there too.
okay, so like
Yep.
my, as we get down further in this, it refers over to, I think, 0115E.
Yeah.
Which is the DASA.
That's form.
And I just wanted to make sure we had our 0115E, but that's kind of further down, right?
Didn't you look at this DASA
I did.
form earlier?
Yeah, that's the one, and that
Yeah.
we updated it. I did put the updated form in there.
Okay.
And it's much, much better.
Let's see. Scrolling through my other. At one point it refers to an employee handbook. Let me see which page I'm on.
Yeah, so.
Page 6. Yeah, I think you're right there. Dissemination, monitoring, and review. Page 6. I saw your cursor, but it's gone now on mine.
All right, I'll go back.
Oh, it's right near the end
Right there.
of the right.
You're right there.
Yeah,
So
right there.
we do not have,
You have a contract.
we have a contract. We do not have an employee handbook. We were in the development of an employee handbook. but trying to make a handbook that's comprehensive for 2 different buildings and having it be equal is not as easy as you think it would be.
So,
So I will be very honest with you. But we do have staff links, right? And we do have
so,
other items.
yeah, so that, I mean, most places employee handbooks are now web-based,
Exactly, yeah.
right? And it's, you know, a listing of policies
Mhm.
basically, or
Yeah.
procedures. So I don't know that you need to reinvent the wheel, but it's kind of like just compiling them all into one resource.
Yeah, that's what,
Can we just add a link or no? Or say where they can find it?
Is this a,
Well,
is
that's-
this a
that's right,
grievance
you
waiting to
wanna, like,
happen?
just
Yeah,
have
that's what I
links.
would say. I mean, you're just asking for trouble.
I think we should just have a link to our
Yeah.
policies.
Me
Really
too.
do.
Asking
I
for
just don't want to
trouble.
say employee handbook if we don't have
Yeah,
it.
we don't have it.
I think it's a grievance waiting to happen. You're in a you're in a collective bargaining environment. You put together a handbook that's gonna track
Yeah, no, I'm not
parallel to
suggesting
the
a handbook.
contract. And any language in there could all of a sudden be like, well, that's
But
not,
I think what I'm saying is just the policies. I think we just share those policies.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
You can do
basically
that.
like,
You ought to
it's basically,
repackage things.
exactly, it's
Mhm.
repackaging what you already have.
Okay.
So here, do we just want to add a link to our policy or just say,
How about staff resources?
But if you have a policy manual, why do you need an employee handbook?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
I'm just saying, take the language out if we don't have one.
But there could be
Yeah.
other resources beyond.
I'll show you guys something that you may not be aware of.
Because right now in the policy, Tim, it says there's an employee handbook.
I understand.
That's all.
So I put staff
I think she
resources.
was arguing that there should be one, and I'm saying, well, if you have a policy manual in place, it sounds to the, and quite honestly, I think there's some dangers in creating.
So,
It's so hard to keep up with a
Yeah.
physical employee handbook.
so
Oh,
what we,
yeah, no,
what we do
can't.
have though
No.
is a staff resources page. So if
Okay.
you look right up here, I can show it to you. Up at the top left-hand corner on everybody's, I don't know if you guys have access to it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. The staff links, that actually has Ed Law 2D, athletics. It has all of the resources that our staffs will need. We can just put a link to the policies. So we have HR components in here, like,
Okay.
because when we got here, there wasn't an area and it was all forward facing to the website and it wasn't organized neatly. So we've developed this for all of our staff. So this is kind of like the quote unquote handbook that people utilize. And everything's there for everyone to utilize when they need it.
So the way this is written right now, we have student registration materials, comma, student, parent, guardian, and staff resources. And then website. So it's not, we're not pointing to a specific staff resources page or student resources page. We're just
Saying that we have
saying
them.
in resources provided.
Staff links is what it's called.
Well, we could say student material, student and parent guardian handbooks, right? Because we have those. Staff resources and posted on the district website. Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah, did you want to add in handbook? Student and parent
After guardian.
guardian.
Thank you. Handbooks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That covers it.
A bullying complaint form will be available on the district's website. Is
We had that posted on the district website.
this is not the DASSA one?
The DASSA one is the one we posted right now.
Okay.
We needed something up there to make sure that
So is it titled bullying complaint form or is it
it's called
titled,
DASSA.
should we put the right title?
Yeah.
So if someone's looking at our policy and they're like,
You want to
okay,
have the same name.
yeah,
Yeah, so we can say, complaints
or in
of bullying
parentheses,
should be reported using
The
right,
DASSA. form.
DASSA form
Yeah.
available on the district's
Could even link
website.
it.
Yeah, I don't like the word bullying.
I don't either.
So,
okay, a complaint form.
yeah, and the fact that they're using the word bullying so much, there's so much more to that.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm fine
So-
just saying a complaint form or
yeah,
the
DASSA
DASSA
complaint form. I'm
complaint
totally
form
fine.
is available on the district's website.
Does somebody know where that is on the here? So they can
It's
just-
right where you are, just go down
Thank you.
one line. That's the next sentence.
All right. Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, I would,
Complaint of bullying can be, right, is it-
you can just, if you don't want to use bullying, say the DASSA complaint form.
I should say complaint form.
Well, you want the right title.
you want the right title so they can search it.
Oh,
Complaints can be filed using the DASA complaint form on the district's website.
First later.
Want me to do
Yeah, but my brain is not there.
Well, she's typing, Frank.
it? Hang on, now I lost my spot.
Can you excuse me for one
Oh,
moment?
sure, go ahead.
Yeah,
Thanks.
go.
See where, yeah, you can look where he was. It's
My,
like the last
like,
page,
cursor jumped.
right before all the references at the end, the last page of the policy. Before you get to the reg. Let me see what page it is.
Okay,
page
got it,
6.
yep. The DASA.
Sorry.
While she's typing, Frank, the next sentence says, the district will ensure that the process of reporting bullying is clearly explained to students, staff, parents, guardians on an annual basis. I mean, do we do that, or is that like through the handbook?
I think, well, we've been trying to do it better. So I think we're doing a good job on that. I know they met with classes in the beginning of the year, they had class assemblies. And now when we also are doing the K-8 program, and October is anti-bullying month.
Okay.
So we're adding all of those things into it. So I think it's
So
a
this
work
is
in
a fair
progress.
statement.
Yep, absolutely.
How about to parents?
That I don't, it's on our website.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's really where that one is. I don't think we've sent Tom a letter saying this is the
Okay.
specifics of how it's done.
And then also the next paragraph, each year as part of the annual review of the code of conduct, this policy will be reviewed to assess its effectiveness and compliance with state and federal law. I feel like every policy I read, there's another annual requirement, and I'm like,
I know, and this one, we didn't
no.
do that specifically as part of our code of conduct review.
So is this something we need to, like, I know you started an annual list with the audit group.
Oh,
Like, should we add?
I think Jim started
Okay.
an annual list for,
Because we know now we learned about purchasing
Yeah.
and like some of these things that
yeah, I don't.
it's getting tricky to keep track of.
I think
where that
Rachel had a
lives.
annual policy
An
review.
annual one?
I think she
I
did.
think NISBA or somebody
And NISBA
publishes that.
publishes
Oh,
one too.
actually, yeah.
Let's just get it from NISBA. That way we know that it's up to date because they change. It seems like they add them, like you said.
Yeah,
Okay. So note to self. In the future.
It just seems like almost all the policies say they have to be reviewed yearly.
And all of
Like,
that
how can you go through
is,
them all every year?
all this is recommended because, so that we do what we're doing right now.
Sure,
Because there's so many boards out there that they never look at any of this stuff. What we're doing right now, this is not normal. I hate to say it, no,
I agree.
you know, it should be, but there's a whole bunch of school districts, they never do any of this stuff.
That's complicated.
This annual review of policies or digging deep into this like that we are. Not done. I know that people, who are on the board of the policy department will tell me all the time, they would get like boxes of just minutes, forms, reports. Here, would you update our policy for us? Just a whole random garbage bag full of stuff, okay? That's the way this was done in a lot of districts.
Okay, so as far as the policy 115 is concerned, does everyone feel pretty good about this?
Comfortable with the policy.
Um,
Do you want to hold it until we have the regulation done and do them all at once?
yeah, my only question again goes back to the sexual harassment and whether we want to just define it as another definition in here and then add language. Right, like, if you go back up to the definitions, right, they've got bullying,
What page
cyberbullying.
you on?
First page.
It's the first page, 1 of 42.
Yeah, okay.
Discrimination, hazing, harassment, like harassment
right,
includes on account of sex, sexual orientation, gender, right? So to me, it seems, I guess I'd like to understand why NISBA broke it out. Is it a relic of where that was really the only thing that people paid attention to, or,
Because it is numbered 110, which is before 115.
right.
So I think they might have done that to go along with the required trainings that we have as
Yes,
staff.
exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, because we have to go by yearly sexual harassment training and, you know, quid pro quo and all those things. So we have to
Yep.
do that yearly.
Yep.
So I think the reason why they're doing it is they're segregating and saying, like, look, if the school officials have to do a sexual harassment training yearly, then we should say, here's the staff one, here's the student one, and make it its own entity.
Yeah,
That one has an
I'm making
annual
it
training, it
so
has
are
annual
there-
training requirement and none of the others do.
So that's probably.
right, and that, well, I mean, when I was with the state, you had sexual harassment, you had religious discrimination, you know, there were training modules,
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, but
all
for
of these
schools,
different
the number
things.
one thing, they only make you mandate you do the sexual harassment.
Okay,
Yeah, they don't have you do a religious one or
that's
anything
a
else.
different issue that we should probably look at.
We do bias training, and we talk about those
Right.
things in bias, but, that's
Just
on
a
us,
plain
that's
old,
what
like,
we do,
Harassment,
that's not man- right.
discrimination,
but that's not mandated. The sexual harassment is mandated.
yeah. I think we'd wanna do a mandatory harassment, discrimination, retaliation training that includes and potentially modules on some of these
Why?
things. But one, when you do it, then if people have a complaint, hopefully they'll make it and they'll know the procedures. And if you don't do it and someone says, I didn't report because I didn't know, or I observed it, but I didn't realize I had an obligation to report it, right, as a bystander, like, that's just bad. You want those complaints to come in.
And the annual training that you do with the employees, is that during the professional development phase?
Yeah, it's video training
Okay,
that we utilize.
Yeah, but that, I mean, these training modules exist,
Mhm.
right? Like the state has them, they've created them for, I'm sure Department of Ed.
Utica
has-
National has hundreds of them.
I'm sure, yeah, I mean, they're not,
We have training modules. for
they're
everything.
out there.
Do you have to negotiate things of this nature?
No, we can do any PD we want. It's PD, it's training for staff. The only thing we have to do is give time, right? Or I can't expect somebody to do something without giving them the
No,
free time to do it, because you're adding another thing to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then you have to really be careful what you're choosing and when you're choosing it, because time is important, right? You know, so faculty meetings, PD days, that's where you can embed those things. There is a
I would suggest that there are probably some topics I would think are more critical for the larger mass of employees. And maybe the employees themselves will say, why we spend all our time over here when I got a whole bunch of questions over here? But
Yeah, I mean, another reason to do it is I think it protects the district to have that training out
understand.
there and routinized and everyone knows what the rules are, right? Because then if someone doesn't follow the rules, right, the district has done what they should do to make sure people are aware of.
I'm not arguing with you. I would tell you though, when I'm thinking PD, I think of instructional skills.
Yeah, there's
That's what I'm really
Certainly-
looking for. That
certainly
to be useful.
categories.
So I think this goes along well with, we are currently doing an HR review in the district. Jim and I are going through those processes. And this is something that I think would go perfectly along with that review, saying, how are we doing our HR components? How are our trainings happening? So I think that goes along well with that review that we're working through.
Yep, absolutely.
And it fits in nicely with it.
All right, well, it makes sense if the sexual harassment training module is actually required,
Yeah.
that we have a separate policy. I'll stop bringing it up. I mean, the
That's a good question,
sexual
though.
harassment policy statement though is like,
It's huge. It's like 7 pages of each
oh,
one.
Did you see
what's
the
the
reg?
one?
It's-
Yeah.
That was,
Wow.
we went from a
Wait, maybe I
one-page
looked at the wrong
document
one.
to 14 pages, which that,
Definitions in the reg, which I guess are
And
fine,
you're-
but wow.
And I would tell you, I think there's things lost in the translation. I mean, when you look at a simple one-page document, and it may be overly simplified, we go to 14 pages, eyes glaze over.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
can get through it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
What was the one I looked at? There
The
was
new
one
ones
I
is
looked
those
at that I
are
thought was
public.
sexual, yeah, it's the one that's called, oh, it's just policy intro.
Yeah,
Oh,
because they split it into point one and point two.
Yeah.
right, yeah, it's like a paragraph, okay,
Right.
got
So
it,
that used to be just, the whole thing was in policy 110.
right,
And
then
now
there-
NISBA split it and they said due to changes in state law aimed at sexual harassment in the workplace, we've split our sample policy into 2 policies and regs. One addressing sexual harassment of students, which is point 1, and one addressing sexual harassment of employees, which is point 2.
so 110 is,
110 is just like an intro.
yeah,
And
that was what I
refers you
looked
to
at
the
and was
point
like,
1. Yeah, you're like, that's it.
that's it, okay. All right,
So as far as 115 then, we think we have the actual policy pretty good, that we just have to follow up with the reg. And we already have the 115E, which is the DASA. Is
yeah,
that where everyone thinks we're at?
yes,
I think so.
so I think next steps would be, sorry, Frank, but review, you
Yeah.
take a crack at the reg.
I already put it on my rolling to-do list.
Synthesize with the 115.
Yeah. I put it on my to-do
And
list.
then I think we're pretty darn close.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take
So-
care of that for the next meeting.
You think you can do that by next meeting?
Yeah, if it's one policy that I'm gonna
One reg,
focus and
one
work on and like not try to do 7, because I know I won't get to it. Like,
Okay,
sometimes I overexert what I think I can do on policy, but I can definitely do that one for sure.
okay.
Are you thinking you want to bring this forward to the board?
Not until we have the reg,
Yeah, let's do the reg first.
if everyone's okay with that.
I can take care of that.
All right, so Frank, reg, next meeting. Okay. Let's see, so we're at 415. Do we want to try to look at 100, which touches into 110, or do you want to? No. Did you say you had to leave early, Frank, besides having to step out?
I have another board member coming at 4:45 to discuss.
Oh,
Robin's coming to discuss curriculum
Okay.
committees. So that's all. I just have the 4:45 with her. You want to do 100? Look at that.
I don't know how far we'll get, because it touches on 110, but we can try. Then we at least make sure we all know.
I need to find that one.
It's,
Okay,
I think there's a 100 folder.
go back down to the folders on your shared drive.
Yeah, it should be the
Yep,
first,
on there.
excuse me, the first folder.
If you just hit the back arrow, it'll bring you back out.
Yeah. The sample policy.
Oh, or it won't. Okay, go back into your Google Drive. We'll get there a different way, hopefully.
I go over here, I'm gonna go get there. I always have trouble finding to figure out where stuff is in here. So I'm on a Mac.
I am too. But everything's different, yeah.
So what is it? If I can look up here.
You want to get to the root of the drive. I'm not sure.
That's what I thought. In
I
the
know.
past, I've been there.
If,
Go to that one,
Which one?
where it says draft NISBA, and then your back button.
yeah, it didn't work for us.
I go
All
here.
right, just go
Okay,
here.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
Just
here.
go back to there, do your drive and go to your shared
Go
drives.
to drive.
Start all over again.
All right, gotcha. All right.
Yeah, and then if you go to your shared,
Shared drives right
Yeah.
there.
and your policy will be there.
Yeah, and then click on policy.
Now,
While they're looking at that, because it's in 100,
Hmm.
what's the status of our
And then go to policies.
accessibility on the web? Like, do we have,
Fully accessible.
awesome, okay, that's,
I
Every,
saw all that, and then here we're in the
yeah,
100.
everything is fully accessible.
Mhm.
We also have the ability for it to be, change languages.
I think we have to. read it
And
'cause
we
don't have a
do all of
draft.
our documents. We have communications upload and change for accessibility purposes. So we are fully in compliance.
okay, that's great.
Yep, no, we've done a lot of work
It
on
takes
that.
it's a lot of work to get there.
Well,
Yeah,
we had to basically throw away everything that was on our old website
yeah,
because even like the PDFs and stuff, we don't post that. Everything is accessible. Everything. So,
Yeah.
and BOCES is their communications is all about it, so they've done a really nice job.
That's good. That's
Yep.
good.
So should we start with the NISBA policy? We don't necessarily have a draft here. It seems to me we
0,
should.
100.
Yeah, so let's open up NISBA sample policy.
Do you want me to just
100.
write draft on the NISBA
Yeah, let's
policy?
do that at this
So that way, if
point.
we know we change it, we can,
That'd be great.
I have both up here if you can read really tiny. So I have our old one and the NISBA one. So
I've got them both open if I need to.
if you can read that small.
So you're gonna, did you change it to say draft? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Okay. I think what Arju is touching on is what I was asking too. So if we just scroll through this quick, because we didn't make comments right within, I personally didn't see anything in the first 3 paragraphs. So that first page.
Oh.
Yeah.
I actually wrote myself notes the other day.
Did you?
So then when we get to page 2, if no one has anything on page 1.
Yeah, no, the first paragraph is new
Mhm.
and it goes along with new laws.
Then when we get to page 2, that's Arju and Frank were just talking about, there is that new accessibility of the website section, which would be new to our policy, but it sounds like we are doing it.
We are
So,
killing it on that one.
So we just need to update the title.
Mhm.
So who's responsible for maintaining the
if you
accessibility on
scroll
the
to
web?
page 2,
I'm on,
It's in the-
annual notification.
No, it's above that. It's the paragraph that starts
Additionally.
additionally.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, if you scroll here, it's wanting a person,
Okay.
Let's see. That's one again, person.
like the either tech person or whoever, or BOCES.
The district's communication
Oh, you have to put something there.
service. How about district's communication personnel? Because we utilize our communication service through BOCES.
Representative.
It changed.
Okay,
Is it a BOCES communication representative?
Yeah, it's Diane Donato.
So put it in there. The district's BOCES communication representative.
So the only reason why I was, then if we don't do that, let's say we
Yeah.
say,
We're
hey,
gonna
someday
bring
we'd love to
in-house.
take the BOCES person and make them 5 days and make them our own personal person, then it becomes a communication specialist, right?
Right.
How about the district's communication specialist?
Specialist.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
Communication is very important, and we only have her 2 days a week.
okay. Now we get to our annual notifications again. At the beginning of each school year, the district will publish a notice of established grievance procedures for resolving complaints of discrimination to parents, guardians, employees, students, and the community.
Isn't the notice just the one that's on the website?
That's what
You know,
it's already published, right?
that's a, I think I might argue that, say that, but
Yeah, I think it's published.
it's published.
Yeah.
And we,
Do we just leave it at the beginning of the school year because it doesn't matter?
Well, I get,
Because it's an annual notification.
You don't even have to say at the beginning. Well, it does say annual
Yeah.
You can just
notification, so you
point-
probably have to give it some
point people to
time.
it. Right?
I think what we could do to cover this all is each year when we do our new updates, like yearly, and we'll have to figure this out, remember it. We could just say, you know, all board policies, right, you know, and regulations are located here, and we just do a notification out to the full community yearly, showing where they can access and find all the information. So I think by doing so, you're covering it.
Every single one that says,
I'm not a lawyer.
Do you have to do the notification?
It says annual notification by law.
Well, I understand what it says here. Is that required by law?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, if you just took out the word annual and just say notification, you say, and you took out at the beginning of each school year, say, hey, the district will publish a notice of.
Oh,
and call
hold
it
on,
that.
look at ours. This notice shall be available at all times on the district website. So let's use that language. Cause I don't believe that web link that's there, I don't think it exists any longer. You know, it doesn't. But I think that covers it, right? If you say
So
that,
Yeah.
we don't currently do this though, do we?
I don't think,
I don't think we
I don't
do.
think the district has done this in many, many years.
Yeah,
I think if you set up these things like an annual notification, you're just setting forth this requirement that somebody's gotta remember.
Right.
And if you just had notification and said the district will publish a notice of the established blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we're gonna put it out there and you're gonna have access to it. You don't have to say it's gonna be done annually.
So,
So what is the, like, they have a little note here, but you can go ahead.
I was gonna say, do we have to do anything for DASA? Is there a
Not on
notice?
that, no.
Notification?
You just have to have it out publicly.
It says technically the annual notice need only to list those covered by federal law.
So what if I do this? What I just wrote, it's from our old, it's from language from our old, policy.
So take out the word annual in the heading.
Well,
I think some
I mean-
things are required annually though. By
but,
law.
but here's the thing. Do we want this to be an annual notification, right? It goes back to the point of doing training, right? Like you're educating people on
Keep bringing it up.
what their rights are, what the process is, because if these things are happening, we want to know. So,
I think the annual notification is, what we used to do supposedly was it was always on the website. So if it's always posted on the website of how you can do these grievances, I think the way that this policy was written was saying, since it's always there, we don't have to remind you to do it yearly. It's always published and available and accessible.
what do we have in the code of conduct?
Right. That's what I was thinking
Because
too.
we've
Can we
got
do it all
to-
together.
Can you put it in the code of conduct and then it goes out?
Because that is an annual notice.
Can we just put a list of all of these policies in the code of conduct?
I just wrote myself a note. I'm already gonna ask NISBA the list of annual policies to review, but maybe we can also ask them if they have a list of annual
annuals.
notifications.
Right, and then we can just.
And then we can
all
put it
in.
on that thing that every parent signs.
Right, because if you embed them in or link to them from the code of conduct,
Mhm.
then they go out to everybody.
Right.
Just because I don't want to add yet another
Oh, agreed.
thing to that list
Mhm.
of things that have to be reviewed, because if you actually sit and read them, it's gonna take you 2
already know,
hours.
Right.
Maybe go back to that paragraph being the way it was. Frank.
And we just post it in the code of conduct.
That's what I think. I think that's what we should do, right? Because we point everyone to that. It contains all of the standards of conduct.
Charges are there.
I brought one,
I got a charger, but I don't have a plug.
because mine is dangerously low as well too. We're almost done now. We're committed to an hour-ish.
Yeah,
You have this one?
I got a
No,
soccer
but
game.
I gotta be able to plug into something. That's all. I got a pretty long. That is quite, that's over there.
This one, I think we're close now.
Okay.
You have another title. Of course, we don't have an assistant superintendent for human resources. Who's been designated to handle inquiries regarding the district's non-discrimination policy, Frank?
Hey, superintendent.
Me.
See it up above, yeah, down below.
Well, Title IX can be considered that too, correct?
Oh,
So
well,
I'm not the Title IX. I'm there's multiple Title IX officers. We have a male and a female Title IX officer.
Hmm. Yeah, but we can still designate you to handle inquiries regarding non-discrimination policy.
Yeah.
That's broader than Title IX inquiries.
Right. I was wondering if that. So I need to put my name like Frank McCree, superintendent.
No, I would just say superintendent.
Okay. Oh, it's done.
So the only other thing I saw on this is, in the cross references, the policy 5030. It says here, student complaints and grievances. I don't know if it's a big deal to our policy, it just says student complaints. I don't know if we want to change our policy title or if we want to change the cross reference.
When's the last time that policy was updated?
January 9th, 2023.
Huh.
Yeah, I remember looking at this.
Yeah,
one.
so that's interesting though, that was updated then, it wouldn't,
Maybe they didn't fix their cross
well,
reference.
that's what I'm wondering, right? Maybe they're I mean, if we just updated it based off of a policy they gave us, you would think that it would be the same one.
So I say we just change the cross reference.
Take
Yeah.
out and grievances.
Yeah,
Yeah, that doesn't make sense if we just did it.
We can delete that. And then the 9140.1, staff complaints and grievances, because it's referenced there, I went and took a quick look at it. And I added a folder in our policy if people want to look. It's very short, but it has that same annual notification language. So whatever we do in this policy, we want to make sure, I would think.
well, that's gonna be different.
So
So that should
go on the staff
should go
resources.
in the
with policy.
resources,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
right?
We need to get a list from NISBA and then we can just update it on there and
Yeah,
be done with it. Because otherwise, if we try compiling it ourselves, we're gonna miss something.
we're definitely gonna miss something.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
Somebody could spend their whole year working on this stuff.
That's why we pay this for the big bucks.
Exactly.
So for 0-100 then, if we're gonna. Okay.
So 0-100 is the one that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there
this
was,
is,
it's right
right?
underneath it.
this is the
Yeah.
trick. So NISBA recommends consolidating the complaint process for harassment discrimination for legally protected classes. They created 110.2, which would replace the older version of 100R. So they're recommending we do the 110.2 and abolish 100R. New York State's model policy had extensive changes which are addressed in NISBA's 110.2.
so but 110.2 is sexual
Yeah,
harassment of employees, which is narrower than
It doesn't make,
equal opportunity and non-discrimination. I don't think that works.
maybe because they're very similar. Yeah, but this is a violation of the Civil Rights Act. And Rehabilitation Act of the ADA. I mean, it's noted in here. Why would we get rid of that if it's not in sexual harassment?
Not understand.
I don't know if I'm comfortable with that.
okay.
Like,
I would.
yeah,
My head was spinning when I was trying to get prepared for this. I was like, the further you dug, the further complicated it got. I'm like, oh my goodness.
So our current reg, just have that open. So I was looking in our current reg. Our current 100R,
Mhm.
and I think our definition of complainant is too narrow. Cause it says any applicant, employee, student, or vendor who alleges that they have been subjected to discrimination, which may be a violation of this policy. Oh, no, it actually, they have it. They say which, as well as a violation of federal or state law or associated regulations, which has affected him or him/her. What I was thinking though was the complainant can be someone who's observed discrimination. I don't know what we mean by affected. Right? Like, so if I mean, you can complain on someone else's behalf.
That's probably not what they mean.
I don't think so either. And I think it needs to be broadened to include that.
Affected by or observed or aware of.
Yeah, something like that. Because someone who reports discrimination on behalf, or, whatever, on behalf of another.
Yeah.
Is protected from retaliation, and all of those other protections follow. Even if they're not particularly bothered by it, if they observe it, let's say it's a teacher observes discrimination of another, they have to report it, and then they would be protected.
Do they have to report it?
Well, I should say, if they observe under our policy, currently, if they observe discrimination, harassment of a student, they have to report it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think we go so far as to say of another staff member. I don't remember seeing anything like that.
I really worry about setting up the police state here. I really do. I mean, I don't like that idea. These are adults.
Yeah.
Kids for one thing.
I'm not disagreeing with you in terms of the obligation to report, but if you do report, well, it's a little different. Like, if you're a supervisor, then I think you have an obligation to report. At least when I worked for New York State, that was the requirement, and that was in all the training.
Supervisors have to report.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I think it's just this language needs to be broadened to include
I wrote,
any complaint.
I don't like it, so could you I don't like what I wrote. Or witnesses, and I don't think it,
I would say observes.
who alleges or
That they have
observes.
been subjected to or observed discrimination. I mean, we can also say.
Oh, yeah, it's subject to or observes.
I think it should be observed, who alleges that they have observed.
Got it.
Sorry. Yeah. So, I think you added or if at the end, but I can even take that out for you.
I took away he, she, and brought them as well.
Yes, yeah, perfect. So, I mean, we're changing this, if we decide to keep our reg and not. We're gonna have to compare it with the 110.2.
Next meeting, we can
Yeah.
try to do.
Well,
it.
this is the sample regulation that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I think that's before they recommended getting rid of it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, no, I was looking at, it's probably,
It
It's
is
very
close.
similar.
It's
Yeah.
pretty much the same as
I was looking at
our current 110
our current
It is.
110R, or 100.
100.
Numbers are so close.
And we have a Voorheesville 100E.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, I say we get rid of that and make it the DASSA complaint form.
Let me look at it again. I know I looked at it quick before.
Excuse me.
this is it. Besides me making sure I captured what things we need to do.
So
Did you
this-
find it? You want to see the paper?
I got it. So this is more for students. Right, complete this form. We urge you to speak directly with the building principal. And then it has student name, student ID, grade, school. This is more like the DASA complaint form.
Yeah, he was suggesting we just use DASA.
But would we use DASA
But that's not what
for,
you would use.
for
That's a student
employees?
thing, yeah.
Would you use that for employees?
Right.
Or do you need a specific complaint form? You at least need who to complain to.
Right.
Right, like that's bare minimum, I think.
But we have one, right?
But it's written form. Are we looking at the same one? It says if you wish to report an incident.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same one. That one is written more for reporting and on behalf or relating to a student.
Hmm.
Like it requests a student's name, student ID. But if the-
DASA
DASA is
addresses
students.
staff issues,
I don't think so. I
No.
think it's just students.
right? So that's why you'd use a form like that.
Right, for students, but if it's
If you want to complain,
employees,
Oh.
do you need a form for that?
Or
not,
person.
no, but you need to know how and who, right?
Yeah, you need to have somebody to go to talk about it.
Right.
You got a DAC.
Supervisors,
Supervisor,
Supervisor.
yeah, I mean, you can
Yeah.
tell
safe
supervisor.
school tip line.
Yeah, exactly, but
Yeah.
I think we need to. at least-
Honestly, you put a form together. I'm an employee, I'm not filling out your form.
Yeah, no, plus you don't want to put too much procedure around it.
Right.
Right, like, it could be an email. right?
Exactly.
Like that's good enough.
I agree.
So instead of having this E, can we just refer to the DASA form or how to report if you're an employee
Yes,
right within the policy, or is that within the reg?
if we're gonna have a reg,
Right.
I would think it belongs in the reg.
It would just be a sentence, something
Yeah.
simple.
Right.
Do we want to add it to either of them now or as a holder?
Add it to the rec for a holder, you know, if we choose to, that way we don't forget, right?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so the reg has the definitions.
Happy to have these conversations, but I am worried. I honestly, we're a school board. These are regulations.
Yep.
And, you know, we can give our thinking, but I don't want to draft all these regs saying this is the way you're supposed to operate and be an administrator. That's not our job.
True.
I think we're really tickling the ivories here on over the line.
I think it's a gap in our current policies though. Which I think,
Well, our policy is one thing, but we're way into this reporting procedures on employees. This nanny state thing is starting to get to me, okay? So I'm not gonna be real comfortable with that.
Do you remember what policy we added that chart that had all the different ways to complain? Was that in the code of conduct? Remember, because we're like, why don't we just make an exhibit that explains them all? I'm wondering if,
I think less is more. On this
right,
one.
like, can we just refer back to that? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
probably,
You guys remember where that
I
was?
don't
don't
remember.
remember it.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't remember much anymore. I mean, I forget.
It is the
everything.
I
whirlwind.
don't wanna put my head in the sand, but we are obsessing over making complaints.
I don't
As
think
if
I'm
that's a
obsessing. We're
normalization of
just
the,
trying to make a policy so if someone has one, it's very
I
easy
got
for
it.
them to
I
look
got it,
and know
but-
how to do it. I'm not
Well,
obsessing. over it.
supervisor or email
Yeah.
to the Title IX officer, complaint officer, district advisory coordinator, direct supervisor, building administrator. I mean, I think there's 1,000 different ways that you can just state, here's all the different ways that you can do it. And then just be done with it. Just a very simple, because people need to have an understanding of how.
Right, that's it.
I think if we get to the specifics on the exacts of it.
Right.
I think we run into a problem.
You get to the point where it's like, well, I'm sorry, I can't listen to you because you didn't fill out the proper form. You know, that just drives me nuts.
No,
Yeah, no, not looking for that.
we don't wanna be there.
So I don't know if we decided, are we gonna try to add a paragraph to the policy? Or put it,
I think we spend a lot of time telling people all of what's bad, but if someone sees something that's bad, we need to at least give them enough information
Right.
to know how to report.
and where do we wanna give them that information, I guess is my question. In 100, in 100R?
And 100R has a bunch of, this is where we get into all the dates and,
A lot.
who, right? Well, we've got the compliance officer, which I don't even know if that title still applies. Right? We don't use that title anywhere else.
So do we
I don't
want,
know. I need to spend more time with the 100R.
Sure.
I don't know if we need it. It seems like a lot of process. I'd probably defer to you on whether you think you need it.
I think there's
Um,
the laws and regulations that guide us on exactly these things anyways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we say that right at the beginning, right?
So I don't think you need a do you need a
I
regulation?
don't think we need a
So all you need
regulation.
is a policy, right?
It just based on this and given that we want to simplify, if it's a student complaint, it's DASA. If it's an employee complaint, it's notify your supervisor or some
And I
other.
don't think you need the regulation.
Administrator.
I would say get rid of the regulation.
I would say, yeah, I'm leaning that way too.
I'm on board.
There we go.
Done,
Can I
gone.
delete the regulation right out of it?
I think we can get rid of the R and the E.
Yeah, because the
Alright.
E is gonna be the,
We're just gonna refer them to the DASA complaint
Alright.
form and or email.
yeah.
Done.
Do we have to abolish if it's an R and E or no?
You do have to abolish
Okay.
them. Anything that you're not utilizing anymore, you still have to abolish. Otherwise, it's still there. Has to be by vote.
Okay.
Done.
All right, do we need,
Did
is
we
there,
add that? Did you add that line
I didn't add
to the
that.
100? Okay.
is there anything we need to change now in the NISBA sample 100 to address what we just talked about? Honestly, I'm reading it again. Can we, so we have a sentence in the 100, specific protections for students under the Dignity for All Students Act are addressed in policy 0115, student bullying and harassment prevention and intervention,
Mm-hmm.
which contains the reference to
Yes, it does.
the DASA
Mhm.
form. So I don't think we need to add anything
Okay.
to reference the form, right? Because we already explained how to do that in the other policy. And then the only complaints of sexual harassment or discrimination are covered by policy 110. Now I'm gonna look at 110.
That's the sexual harassment. NISBA's recommending the
Yeah.
intro and then the point 1 and the point 2.
Yeah, but
On in.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yes, you can.
Well, she can't because it's quorum. Yeah.
I would say let's, table the question on whether we need to add anything into the 110.2 or the 100
Mhm.
about reporting like staff complaints.
And just wait on it.
Right, because I didn't spend enough time with 110.2
Okay,
to know whether it's adequately covered. Because if that only covers sexual harassment, then it's not,
I
If
think
someone-
it is on the sexual harassment,
then it's not broad enough to
but we can
cover
come
it.
back to it, 'cause we're out of time.
So look at that and we'll come back to it for next time.
Okay, can I just make sure I have the list right? For 115, for our next meeting, policy meeting in October, Frank is gonna have the reg reviewed and recommend to us, so that is in process. For 100, we're pretty close. We have to find out about all these annual things from NISBA, that I'll do. And we think we're gonna get rid of 100R, but we wanna first look at 110. No, we're getting rid of 100R.
We're getting rid of
100E.
100R. We just need to figure out whether we have to add
Right.
into 100.
Yep.
A sentence about how a staff complaint would be reported.
Okay,
When is this policy committee meeting?
next one's not till, I don't know, but before I forget, also in that B, we have the 9140.1, that once we know the annual notifications, we're just gonna make sure we fix that one too.
Okay.
And then maybe next meeting we'll dive into 110, sexual harassment. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
So we really have nothing to bring to the full board meeting.
Nice.
Okay, does everyone agree with
October
that?
4.
So the fourth.
Yeah, I have policy as October 4th,
Okay.
6:30. Well, that was hard stuff to get through. I guess we're done with the meeting.
All right,
Is everyone
awesome.
okay as far as the recorded meeting?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.